great, make no mistake. It's a shake and bake, gonna slash through the paint.
What's up, Ramlin? You are now in the kitchen with Chef Nixon for all your fixings for the latest and greatest of VCU men's basketball. So, VCU played Dayton last night. How'd it go? Let's get into it. All right, so VCU versus Dayton. Tremendous rivalry. Sparked once Anthony Grant, former VCU coach, took the job a few years back. This rivalry has been full of close games, full of hard fouls, full of buzzer beaters, game winners, blowouts, everything. It's been you've seen everything in these games, and still the rivalry hasn't lost its luster. And last night was more of the same. Real tough game. Dayton entered this game with a record of 15-9, attempting to bounce back from a weird loss to St. Bonaventure. Dayton has dealt with injuries consistently throughout the season, which led to lineup changes, which led to chemistry changes, and that led to their inconsistency in their record in their wins and loss column. If you look at Dayton from top to bottom, they have one of the best teams in the conference, say us and them. But probably talent for talent, they might have the best team. You know what I mean? But however, they had different things derail their success throughout. However, this is a rivalry game, and they're coming off a loss. They're gonna come in ready to play, ready to headhunt. They also want to get some get back for when we beat them in the fashion we beat them, feeling as if they let something slip away, a game they should have had, a game they should have won, national television in front of their home crowd, and VCU got the win. It's celebrated. So yeah, they're coming out swinging. And VCU, they entered this game after an emotional win over St. Louis this past Friday, the Ace Baldwin game. VCU looks to maintain their number one spot in the A10 and also keep their at-large bid chance alive. VCU has won their last two games, road games, tough games. However, if we're being honest, they haven't looked as good as we know they can. Part of that is just outside shooting, outside of Ace Baldwin, has been non-existent, horrid, to say the least. Playing a team like Dayton, which has this physical length and great defense. At one point in time, they were a top defense in the country. You're going to need to knock down some shots from the outside to keep them honest. And going into the game, I'm pretty sure they were going to try their best to keep us out the lane and continue to keep us from doing what we do, which is put a lot of pressure on the rim and get to the free throw line. So let's really start, breaking down the game, and let's get into some of the things I observed from last night's game. Number one, Dayton's physicality was there from the jump. Sometimes, even though they don't get the result that they wanted, you can tell that the energy is there. And what I mean by that is Dayton was crashing the boards so hard, even though at the beginning of the game they were not having a lot of success in getting offensive rebounds. But I could just tell how they were crashing, that it was a point of emphasis. I can tell that if they continue to do so, they were going to have some success regardless. They came out and wanted to really bully VCU, impose their physicality on VCU, and see if VCU can handle it. I think for all the slack that Coach Rose gets, and Anthony Grant has received. And all St. Louis coach, for all the spoiled fans out there, I want you to know that these coaches are really putting together. I've been like, especially the St. Louis game, and even to this game here, these coaches are putting together great strategies for their teams to go out there and execute. Whether or not the team executes the plan, some will look at the coach, and sometimes you just gotta look at the players. Like, hey, you got to be completely locked in, right? But the plan that Dayton had, and we'll start offensively. What they had prepared for VCU was what some we just talked about: crash the boards, use your physicality, use your length. Holmes and Tamani Kamara, use your physicality, use your God-given ability to crash the boards and continue to make VCU work for each defensive rebound, and that stood out immediately. Secondly, I thought Dayton did a really good job of using the high pick and roll. They used the high pick and roll to get a mismatch. VCU did a poor job of blowing up their screens, and Dayton did a really good job of setting their screens to the point where they were forcing us into switching with their 4 and 5. So Deloach wouldn't be guarding Holmes at the rim like it was in the first Dayton game. They did a really good job of doing that, and what they did, they forced. When they got the switch, they really looked to attack They really looked to attack the mismatch, and with that, we needed better help side. Now, early in the game, we were able to get some steals over on the help side, but as the game progressed, we ended up being a step late. And when we don't get the steal, when the help side comes, let me rewind. So what we would do, we would front the post. So after the high ball screen, the guard would be on their big, and the guard would try to front, and that means get in front of the post or the post player, and try to back them down to use the rim as a defender too. But with that, you also, once your defender decides to front the post, the opposite wing or the opposite guard or the opposite post has to have the help side. Now, usually when you have somebody fronting the post, most teams are going to take the other big and lift them high to the top of the key, and there's going to usually be a guard down there for the help side. They did a really good job of executing that. Like I said, sometimes we're able to get the steal, but then they start throwing it up to a point where you're not going to get the steal. Your best thing to do is try to wall up and have them shoot over you. Now, granted, it's going to be at a disadvantage either way, but it's better than giving up a dunk. And we did that a couple times. And then once they even did that, if they didn't have that shot, they did a good job of not letting the ball stick and getting it moving. And that led to them having open threes, a lot of open threes in the corner, also at the top of the key. There's a bunch of times VCU missed a rotation, and they call it a blue. And it's basically they set a screen, and the opposite wing has to protect the rim and give the rolling big defender a chance to get back to his man. So the blue coverage is the opposite wing that's the opposite guard that's on the wing has to take the place of the guard helping because his man is running to the top of the key. We missed that a few times, and Dayton made us pay for that as well. And then also, of course, with the ball screen and a weak side drive leading to a kick to the corner for threes as well. I think we did a poor job of guarding that, and I also think that Dayton did a really good job of setting the screens, which enabled them to get into that action. Now, defensively, Dayton, now this is where I was impressed. Dayton truly dared us to shoot threes. But before they did that, we usually, before we know how to play without, we learn how to play. We learned how to, excuse me. We learned how to play without, having the ability to make shots, and we throw the ball to the post and down to Brandon Johns or Deloach. Now, what does Dayton have that most teams in the A10 don't? They have a plethora of bigs, two bigs in particular that can really guard the post. But Brandon Johns is a very capable post player, so I'm pretty sure he'll be able to score. And I think Dayton's coaching staff was aware of that too. So what they decided to do is when Brandon Johns got the ball, they would dig with their perimeter guard and go for a trap to get the ball out of his hands. So really nullifying him and making him pass the ball out. Now with that, they weren't rotating out to Nick Kern. They weren't rotating out to Zeb Jackson. They weren't rotating out to Jameer Watkins to make them put the ball on the floor. Even Ace Baldwin, they really weren't rotating to really contest the three. They were giving them the three. We're going to keep you out of the paint. And with that, a lot of our possessions either went a long three, back iron, long three, short, or we have to try to force it down their throat when they're already in a position to not allow us to drive, which led to us going late into the shot clock or throwing something up or forcing a bad look or turn the ball over. Right? They had Deron Holmes guarding Nick Kern. To the naked eye, you may be like, okay, so what? But what they were doing was daring Nick Kern to shoot the ball and having Deron Holmes stay home in the post and clog the paint. So they really limited our driving lanes. They really limited the driving lanes, and they forced us into 3-point shots. And with their length, they still can contest late at those 3-point shots. So I think Dayton had a really good game plan for us. Now with that, I still think we had a pretty good game plan, and VCU came to play. VCU was game. They were ready to play this game. I don't think they came out terribly. If you look at the turnovers, VCU only had 9 turnovers on the night, and we turned Dayton over 17 times. VCU came to play. But there is one thing that for Dayton, for some reason we don't have an answer to, and that's Tamani Camara. He is probably going to be the defensive player of the year in the A10. He literally guards 1 through 5. And that already is enough to give us some trouble, because that allows them to switch on ball screens instead of, us using a defender out there that can't guard, pulling it out, giving a driving lane, kicking it out, and then now they're in a scramble situation. Tamani kind of eliminates that because he can guard so many different positions, right? And then on the offensive end, we just don't have an answer for him. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen Tamani pop to the top of the key and he gets an open shot and he knocks it down and it's uncontested. And then he probably had like 3-and-1s last night, just out physicaling us, out hustling us, and ultimately outplaying us. And we'll get to his stats in a minute, but he completely dominated this game on both sides of the court. And I don't know if that's he's just that good, or if that's we're not stepping up to the challenge for him. And it could be a little bit of both. But it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch, especially for a VCU fan. It's hard to watch. Now, like I said, VCU came out game. They were ready to play. Certain things could have went better, but I think it was more so what Dayton did and our our inability to shoot. I mean, to be honest, I said before the game, and I have plenty of people as my witness. Um, I said the number we need to get to, we need to make 7 threes. If we can make 7+ threes, we'll be in good shape. We made 4. If we made 7, we win the game. Just off that alone, we were 4 for 19 from 3. 21%. It's gonna be hard to beat a team like Dayton shooting 21% from three. I'm just being honest. It's gonna be really hard to beat them. And I'm not saying we have to shoot it at a 50% clip. We don't. We don't need Shriver to hit 6 threes. It's not like we need something outstanding. We just need to be respectable. And we hit 4 threes in the first half, and then didn't hit any in the second. It's going to be hard to beat a team like Dayton like that. They're too good defensively for us not to make shots. But hey, even with that, we still were in the game. But then what was kicking our ass? Free throws. 10 for 20. And I guess I should know this. I really should. But does that 10 for 20 take into account the front end of the 1-and-1? If it does, I mean, it's still 50% from the free throw line. It's terrible. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's just terrible. And in the post game conference, Deloach was being asked a question. It was like, we can't blame it on coach. He makes us shoot free throws at the end of practice every day. And you have to hit a certain amount in order to lead a gym. So it's not a coach thing. They practice free throws. I've seen it with my own too. I've seen it. I was there. But you just got to do better. That's something they could have controlled that they didn't. So they shot 21% from the free throw line. 21% from the 3-point line, 50% from the free throw line, and they lost the rebounding battle by 8. It's hard to win. That's a game that's going to be hard to win. Okay, for any team, but especially for VCU, it's going to be hard to win. And this is how good we are. This is how good we are and how good we can be. I'm not just being pessimistic. This is how good we are and how good we can be. I think Dayton played a really good game. Even though they should have sealed the deal, they kind of left the door open at times by missing free throws themselves. But with that, we still had a chance to win the game if we just take care of the ball and we knock down our free throws. We still had a chance. So, it's a frustrating loss. And we end up losing that game 62-58 at home. Second, it's a back-to-back home loss. So we lost St. Bonaventure, went on the road 1-2, and then lost again. So back-to-back home losses. Never a good thing. Never a good thing. And part of this I blame on the emotional win at St. Louis. You know what I mean? St. Louis was such an emotional game that I think we had an emotional win lag. And you really don't pay attention to it in like the regular season. I usually pay attention to that in like the A10 tournament or the NCAA tournament. You know what I mean? It's everybody wants to call me now. It's basically when a team has an emotional win, it's hard to get their emotions back to that point. So they kind of play a little bit flat. It's hard for them. It's hard for them to get that going again. So I think that had to do with it, but that's just me. That's just me thinking. and trying to come up with a reason on why we just couldn't get the engine running the way we usually can. Part of that is Dayton's a really good team, regardless of their record. And that's the part that sucks. And that leads me to my next point. What does this loss do for VCU? Because I mentioned in the previous video how, you don't want to lose this game at home to Dayton, even though Dayton's a good team. You know what I mean? I think Dayton started this season ranked. You know what I mean? But, with them losing so many games that they should have won, it just wasn't a good look. However, if you are going to lose it to a team, I think Dayton or St. Louis are teams that, they ain't good, but it ain't the worst. All right. So what does that really do for us? I think that, my opinion, I think we have to win out now. I knew we had it. I said before, I think we could afford one loss. I think we could afford one. Now I would prefer that be to St. Louis, and like down the road, so that we would have some momentum to build up. But now, when the rubber meets the road, what I'm saying, you gotta know what you're gonna do. And I think we have the capability to win out, but we have to have the focus to win out. And guys have to be prepared to see a defense like that all the time now. People watch film. The backdoor cut was working because people were still respecting the possibility of us shooting a three. But what they just, we're going to guard Shriver tight. Everybody else, shoot. And then Shriver, I know they're guarding you tight, man, but you still got to make shots, bro. That's what you do. You got to make shots. Your team needs you. They could ill afford you. They could ill afford you not really showing up like that. You know what I mean? Like if Deloach didn't play defense, it'd be like, come on, bro. That's what we need from you. If Ace wasn't doing his job at the point guard position, he'd be like, come on, bro. You are the shooter. You have to produce more. You have to produce more. Get it in gear. So how do we get out of this slump? You know what I'm saying? We can't keep living ace or bust, right? That's not a winning solution. Granted, he went crazy. He went crazy against St. Louis, but you can't expect that from him every single night. 37, damn near shooting 90% from the floor. You can't expect anybody to do that, right? Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, three of the greatest mofos to score the basketball. They ain't doing that. Not night in, night out. So we can't expect Ace to do that either. So how do we get out of this slump? I think we have to continue to drive the post or feed the post. I think we need to do a better